Your hands were covered in bits of meat.
You're currently COO, Chief Operating Officer.
That's right. I've been here 14 years, my career spanning now 37 years. I did start when I was 17. Small town called Galashiels. It's in the Scottish borders. There's no banking genes in here at all. My dad was almost an environmentalist. Mum was an artist. So the advice I got from a couple of mum and dad's friends who were bankers is just start from the bottom. Having to wash your hands after the butcher and the fishmonger paying because your hands were covered in bits of meat. Our average handling time to handle a call, 172 seconds. If we could shave 1 second off that call, it would save us 22 staff. It's 150 million calls a year. Now when you're managing people who are doing those basics, you've done them yourself. I just enjoy managing big teams of people. That's where I feel my sweet spot is. I got a phone call from my boss. He said, how'd you fancy going to Singapore? I thought, why not? Worst possible thing that can happen is you end up back where you were. What's wrong with that? 14 years and I've no intention of leaving anytime soon. Make the main thing the main thing. I was taking over a team from a previous manager and the manager said to me, Michael, this is Barrie. And just to warn you about Barrie, he's gay.
He said that?
He said that.
Jeez.
My mind was blown. If I can create a safe space for Barrie, then there's lots more Barries. I've got the pride strap on my watch. And I have been chair of the board of Pangdemonium. I would have been a roadie working for...
John, welcome. How are you?
Great, Paul. Great to be here.
Oh, man, it's good to see you again, brother.
Yeah, you too.
Now, for the few people that may not know you, and before we unpack your fantastic journey, can you give a quick intro as to who you are, please?
I'm sure there's plenty of people that don't know me. Firstly, Paul, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. I've watched a lot of your podcasts. I've been enjoying them. And interestingly, I counted at least 4 people that I know that have done this already. So
oh, really?
It's nice to...
Who are they? Well, Teresa, you were kind enough to introduce.
Teresa, I introduced you.
Yes.
Mustafa, I used to work with.
Yes.
Reza, I used to work with at Pangdemonium.
Correct.
And there was one
Tim.
other. Tim. Works at Pangdemonium, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Our associate director. So, yeah.
So tell us, give us a quick intro on you.
So I've been here in Singapore almost 14 years. Originally from Scotland. The accent will tell people that. So yeah, I've been here 14 years. My career spanning now 37 years. Can't quite believe
it's
that.
It's scary when you say it out loud, right?
Exactly. Although I'm going to age myself here, I did start when I was 17. Didn't go to university straight from school. I went later, but not straight from school. So,
okay.
Yeah, I've been in banking all these years, predominantly a back office operations behind the curtain person, which is where I like.
Yeah.
And I've been very lucky. So yeah, that's
but you're currently COO, Chief Operating Officer.
That's right.
That's your bread and butter. I'm going to suggest you pull the mic a little bit closer to you, just in case. Isaac, is it all right? Just in case. So I love talking about people's childhood and how, that shaped you. So growing up, where did you grow up in Scotland? Tell us about what your childhood looked like.
Small town called Galashiels. It's in the Scottish borders. 14,000 people it was at the time. I think it's down to 10,000.
Really? So everyone's moved out to the major cities?
Practically a village, just south of Edinburgh, about 30 miles south of Edinburgh. So Edinburgh was our closest big city.
Okay.
What was my childhood like? Fun, actually. My best friend, James, him and I are still best friends. We had an hour on the phone this morning. So
amazing.
95% of our life we've been best friends.
That's beautiful. What is he doing back home?
So he's now in Australia. He's been in Australia for 20 years.
Oh, you told me about him. Yes.
So James and I spent a lot of time together, getting up to all sorts of mischief.
Yeah, I can only but imagine.
And you can imagine we spent all the time on our bikes, riding around the borders. Very few buses down there. We don't want to trouble our parents with car rides. So that was our independence, the BMX gang.
Yeah, I love it.
As it used to be.
I love it.
So yeah, lots of time outside. Borders is a beautiful place. So yeah.
And what were you into? Were you into sports? Were you into outdoors growing up in Scotland?
Cycling for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, James and I did a lot of cycling together.
You know what? I had a look for those old BMXs. You know the one with the yellow rims?
Yeah.
And inside, I would spend quite a lot of money if I could get a decent one.
The Rally Burner.
Yeah. Beautiful. I never had one, that's why. And I always wanted one. Did you have one?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, we both.
God. You did?
Both had one of those back in the day.
Flipping hell.
1,000 years ago.
I thought you were going to say maybe you had a mongoose. Remember those as well?
Yep.
It was like but the rally for me was quintessentially iconic of our time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, we both had one of those.
I don't know if you'd fit on one now. You're a bit too big and tall for one now, right?
I think I might break it under the weight.
So tell us about then. So you finished school. Why did you go to uni later? What happened?
So I got some advice. I knew I wanted to go into banking. It was something that interested me.
Why? How? Because I'm always curious when people say that. You didn't come from a family of bankers, right?
No.
Yeah.
My dad was almost an environmentalist. He worked for when I said about the borders, Tweed, the Tweed River Purification Board. So he was almost an environmentalist long before his time, keeping the rivers clean and stopping farmers shoving stuff in the river, etc. So he did that. Mum was an artist. She was an art teacher. She went to Glasgow School of Art. So there's no banking genes in here at all.
Yeah.
Maybe I was attracted just by finance. I just found numbers interesting.
Yeah.
So the advice I got from a couple of mum and dad's friends who were bankers is just start from the bottom. Just go straight in. You can go to university, but actually getting those ground skills from the ground up. So, and I'm talking the ground up.
Yeah.
Being on the cash,
proper old
pay-ins,
school. Yeah.
having to wash your hands after the butcher and the fishmonger paying because your hands were covered in bits of meat, etc. So it started then, but in those days you did your bank exams. Yeah. So you actually did. I mean, my first 2 years I did day release. So I worked Monday, Tuesday, at college on a Wednesday, worked Thursday, Friday. Really? So you actually got a day off a week.
Where was this, in Edinburgh?
No, in Galashiels, in the borders. Yeah. So you did that for the first couple of years, and then eventually that took you on to Associate of Chartered Institute of Bankers in Scotland, member of the Chartered Institute, and then I eventually did a course at uni, which was a conversion course, which got me my degree, but years later. But in the same time, I was earning, so I could afford a car at 17. Yeah. It was a tiny 850 Mini, but I could afford a car. Yeah. Gave me independence.
And in Scotland, you need it, right?
You do, yeah. And learn the basics from the ground up. So now when you're managing people who are doing those basics, you've done them yourself, or you've done most of them yourself.
But I was going to tell you this. I never told you this before. I think you're almost born into the wrong part of banking because your personality, even though obviously you're a fantastic COO, you could have been front office, no problem. You've got a massive personality. You love engaging with people. Did you ever contemplate you making that move?
Yeah, I did. And actually, a close friend of mine who we started in banking together, he went the front office route, and I went the back office route. I just enjoy managing big teams of people. Yeah. And you're good at it. That's where I feel my sweet spot is. Yeah. I'd rather sell the benefits of back office to front office than sell, front office to our clients. It just feels more natural for me.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah. So then let's unpack your journey. So you've now finished at uni. What were your ideas? What were your options?
So my first organisation was on a no-names basis, one of the main banks in Scotland, probably one of the two. Doesn't take a lot of guessing. But, one of the first opportunities I got was actually a management development program, which was very much akin to the graduate development program, but you had 4 rotations at various different areas. And one of the rotations I went to was our outbound call centre. And that was really my first experience of managing bigger teams of people. And that for me was just a trigger and a pivot in my career to, I love managing a bunch of people doing stuff. Yeah. And that one was outbound call center. There was actually collections. There were phoning people with bad debts, etc. So not the most pleasant
Nasty job, yeah.
And necessary.
How long was each rotation? Was it 3 months? Oh, 6 months.
6 months.
Oh, solid then. I think that's a great grounding for you to truly understand the whole banking arena and then working out what you want to do.
Yeah. No, I did 6 months in marketing, 6 months in the call center, collections, and audit. I was an auditor for 6 months, which gave me a fantastic lesson in audit, but taught me that I didn't want to be an auditor for the rest of my career.
But it's better you found out after 6 months versus 6 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So that call center experience took me, when I went back to Scotland, took me into call centers at that time. And I ended up loving that role, loving working with a team, eventually running my own call center, 24/7 operation, 500 in the team. Wow. And when that was, when a call center is buzzing, it's a great atmosphere. I mean, and call centers these days are almost a thing of the past. Yeah. As people move online.
But when we were growing up, it was the big thing.
Yeah, that's how you between that stage of everyone used to go to a branch and now everyone picks up their phone, that bit in the middle, that's how people did their banking.
It's madness. If you think about it now, if we had told you back then, listen, this is going to be a blip, on the radar of your map, you wouldn't think it would be so short. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so interesting how things change and grow. And then how did you realize very quickly that you were really well suited, enjoyed the back office and the operational side of things?
I think I enjoy process. I enjoy amending and re-engineering process. And particularly in retail, I've been in investment banking now, bizarrely, almost half my career now, but at that point, retail was my focus. And I think what I find so fascinating is I likened it to a dashboard with knobs, and you could just tweak one or two of the knobs, and it just makes stuff very slightly different.
Yeah.
So to give you an example, our call center average handling time, 172 seconds.
I love it. I love the fact you remember.
The number's still in there.
Yeah.
So our average handling time, so the normal time it takes to handle a call, 172 seconds. If we could shave 1 second off that call, it would save us 22 staff. So
it's crazy.
That's the kind of volumes, 150 million calls a year, etc. But then in the flip side, if front office or we wanted to do something different with our clients and talk to them a bit longer, it also allowed you to scale up. So something that front office wanted to talk to the clients about, and it's going to take an extra 5 seconds on every call.
Yeah,
that's 100 people, given the scale. So I love that, making really small, fine adjustments to the process.
And they make huge differences.
Huge difference. Yeah.
But I'm just curious, because I'm like you, I'm a technician. I love analysing these things. But when you first were thinking of doing that and you're bringing it to your bosses, I'm going to analyse call time and stuff like this, it's going to make a huge difference. Did they get it straight away, or you had to persuade them to understand it? Because before you did the analysis, you don't know, right? You don't know exactly how much you could shave off it and what would be the return on investment.
Yeah, I think they did, and that's probably because we had the right leadership.
Okay.
And I probably learned some of that craft from them, being fair. But just that metrics-based approach.
Yeah.
But then also understanding it's also people you're dealing with.
Yeah.
So that balance of the metrics are really important, but you're not running a factory. You're running people.
Yeah.
And of course, some of those best process improvements will always come from the people doing the job themselves. And that's the bit I find really fascinating. I remember a technique that I used then, and I've still used it to this day when I get groups of people together: start, stop, continue.
I love it.
The most simple, this is the thing. Leadership is not rocket science.
Yeah.
And the people that make it rocket science are probably trying to talk themselves up.
Well, I don't want to put you on the spot, but when we've had a couple of drinks, we've talked about different techniques, and you've taught me a few great ones on sales. And what have been your observations? Can you share a couple of pearls of wisdom on what you've learned and observed about sales?
Yeah, I mean, one of my roles was actually a sales trainer. So I stood up with a flip chart, as it was at the time, and trained
back
others,
in the day.
Back in the day, trained other people to sell. And there's all the models of the spin technique, but for me, the sales was, so there's two things. One, first stage of a sales process, you know this, Paul, establishing needs, asking the right questions. But I think also, the one thing I remember is people buy people first.
Yes.
Sell your product before you sell your price. Mm. So, these kind of, and they're a bit glib, some of these phrases, but it's making that connection with the individual, really understanding what they need, and making sure that you don't try and hunt a product that isn't relevant. So, when I was doing those sales techniques, that's what we always taught. And then not forgetting, no sale is ever done until you do the close.
Yeah.
So ask for the business.
Yeah.
And I guess that's now, so whether that's me asking for resources in a call center or asking my bosses now for something that I need, you've got to ask. You've got to create the environment where they're ready to say yes, but you've also got to close the sale.
I think most people, they overlook it because sales has a negative connotation, and it doesn't matter if you're a school principal, or you're the COO, we're all selling at some point if you're married. We've all got to sell at some point, and asking is the definitive way of doing so, right?
Well, here's the thing about sales versus service. We used to, one of the exercises was, tell me what good service looks like. And people would talk about, I was in a garage, and the guy that was selling the car, he was great because he did this and he did this. And yeah, but he also took 30,000 off you and you bought a car. No, it was great service. And then if you tell people what was bad service, they tell you when they're being hard sold to.
Yeah.
So actually, if you do it correctly, it just feels like good service.
Yeah.
You know,
I love that.
The person's still selling your product.
I love that. I call it the art of selling without selling, because I think beyond the initial, hi, how you doing? The reality is if you've demonstrated trust, you're advising, you're also talking about the pros and the cons of whatever you're talking about. You know, you don't need to BS the person. It goes a long way. What I'm curious about is you are a man with a lot of integrity, a lot of kindness. Your thought process are very diverse. Where did that come from? Was it your parents? Was it growing up in Scotland? You know, because I find it quite rare.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't recognize myself in that character.
But let me explain to you why. One of the reasons why we kind of became friends, from my side anyway, was our shared mutual love for example, theatre. Right? And you're a big strapping young lad, right? Who's going to think that you're so involved in the theatre? And that's one of the key reasons why we got talking. And then let's talk about a little bit about your watch and what that represents.
Okay, so I'll start. Yeah, so
the strap.
You've recognised that I've got the Pride strap on my watch. And I have been involved in the LGBT community a lot over these past few years. I guess that started. It was actually one of my jobs. So I was taking over a team from a previous manager, and the manager said to me, he introduced the direct reports, and he said, this is Michael, this is Barrie, and just to warn you, but Barry's gay.
He said that?
He said that.
Jeez.
And I was thinking, I was a bit taken aback, and listen to the language that was used. I'll warn you about Barrie, he's gay.
Yeah.
And that, my mind was blown at that. So
did you call him out on it, or you were just still processing it like 10 minutes later?
And if it had been today, I would have called him out on it.
Of course.
Back in the day, I didn't.
When
and
was
that
this?
Was wrong. Oh.
In the 90s?
Yeah, 90s, noughties.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Yeah. Things were very different back then.
Yeah, they were. And so, on that base, that stuck with me. But guess what? Barrie wasn't out in the office.
Yeah.
No one knew, but everyone knew. And that just felt wrong. So anyway, Barrie was my direct report. Him and I actually spent a lot of time in London together. I was working in Edinburgh. We would fly down to London every few weeks to see our front office counterparts.
Yeah.
Barrie was a fabulous technician. He really knew the product and the system supremely well. So we spent a lot of time. I would go as the department head. He would go as my number two. And when you're on business trips together, you go out for dinner and you share stories, etc. I always made sure that I didn't gender Barrie's partner. I always talked about they, them.
Yeah.
And I knew, because you'd heard the chat, that Barrie had a male partner. But so I wanted to create a comfortable space. One day, Heathrow Express, ready to come back up to Edinburgh Friday night. What's your plans for the weekend? Normal conversation.
Yeah.
And he said, it's my partner's 40th this weekend.
Yeah.
Him and I are going out for dinner.
Yeah.
That was the first time he'd ever said.
So he felt comfortable.
Yeah. And I felt a huge privilege that I'd created a space that he felt comfortable.
Yeah.
So for me, that was, as a leader, if I can create a safe space for Barrie, then there's lots more Barries.
Yeah.
So that kind of drew me into it. And I just got involved with the community, and now I've run Pride from a previous firm. I started a Pride network at my current firm, and there have been lots more stories of that where people have felt genuinely comfortable to be at work. And guess what happens to Barrie's productivity, to his performance, to his output? Yeah. And I'm delighted to say I took him with me to the next firm I moved to. He's now running Pride for that firm.
Wow.
I think he still is.
Yeah. It's because so many people, I've worked with so many senior guys that they've struggled with it. And when I first came across it, I created and implemented flexible benefits for a bank. And one of the CEOs in the bank is homosexual. And I said to him, look, should we create same-sex insurance because you don't currently have it? He said, that's a great idea. But the amount of resistance, and I've placed a guy in a bank, and one of the HR directors said, because I asked, do you have same-sex insurance? It's a different bank. And she said, why? And I said, well, he's a homosexual. She said, how do you know that? I said, well, I just know. And she said, does the hiring manager know? I said, no, never came up. We never discussed it. And she actually said, we don't hire that type here. And I said to her, "Are you serious?
you
Are you serious? You just said that?" And that was HR, and it kind of staggered me. And I just said, "You can't say stuff like that." And but it was quite funny because she doesn't know, but there were quite a few gay guys there. She probably was clueless, but it is interesting. And then theatre,
and therefore she's missing out on the best talent.
which she just is.
So if you want to automatically take out that percentage of the talent pool,
Yeah.
be my guest. But there are
you know-
talented straight people, there are talented gay people, there are talented women, there are talented men. If you,
You
want
know-
the full breadth, hire the best.
You're going to crack up. So back in the day, I used to provide silver service wine waiters, sous chefs to the Institute of Electrical Engineers in central London, Embankment, just next to the Savoy Hotel. And I was managing like up to 150 staff, and we needed to hire some wine waiters, but mainly silver service staff. So I became a badly qualified silver service waiter, just so I understood it. And I said to one of the guys there, I said, "Look, I need to hire some silver service staff very quickly. How do I do it?" This is back in the days, right? And he said, in the late 90s, he goes, "Oh, you need to advertise with the Pink Press." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "It's a newspaper, most catering staff will be in there." So I didn't know what the Pink Press was. So I advertised, I got the Pink Press, it's a gay paper. I had no idea. I'm walking down the street on a Thursday evening with that under my arm, as you do, and I was getting wolf whistles, and I was thinking, mate, I must be looking sharp today. I had no idea. But that was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. And then theatre, like how did you, because I studied acting, I always wanted to be an actor, so I was a thespian, but how did you fall in love with that?
I've always enjoyed theatre, particularly musical theatre.
Okay.
So how I got involved, my love of theatre or with Pangdemonium?
Well, both. We'll start with theatre and Pangdemonium.
Yeah, no, I've always enjoyed, I used to enjoy live theatre. I think live theatre these days is even more important because you can't press pause.
Yeah. I love
and
that.
And you can't press fast forward.
I love that.
How often are we watching YouTube or podcasts?
Yeah.
How many people are forwarding this podcast as we speak?
Yeah.
And you can't press pause.
Yeah.
That's that. You're there and you're with it, and it's
you're in the moment
for sure.
You're in the moment,
and that's very special.
And then how did Pangdemonium come about?
Well, actually, there is a LGBT connection here because my previous firm, we used to be one of the sponsors of Pink Dot in Singapore.
Yes. In
2016, foreign companies couldn't sponsor Pink Dot, which people will have read about in the press, etc.
Yeah.
Well, let's not go there. But my firm wanted to basically use the budget that we had for something different. So one of the people at Pangdemonium approached me to see if my firm would sponsor Tango, which is a play about LGBT themes, and it's gone around the world and it's been shown elsewhere within the world. So we did. We were the presenting sponsor for that. We filled the theatre with 600 people from the LGBT community. It ran, and I was hugely proud of the work that my previous firm did for Pangdemonium. So on the back of that, I got to know Adrian and Tracy, the founding members of Pangdemonium, Adrian and Tracy Pang. And they were in need of a board member, and they said to me at the time, "We'd be hugely privileged if you came and joined our board." And I said to them, "You'd be privileged. I would be privileged. I loved the work that they did." So I joined the board, and I was treasurer for 5 years, and then in the last year and a half, I've taken over as chair of the board.
Well, one of the first nights we went out, I said to you, I noticed they've got a doll's house showing. I said, "So you invited me to the opening gala night?" I self-invited myself, and I sat next to you. It was a great evening. And Tim directed that play,
he did.
And how I know him because I placed his dad, and he's got a great story because he went to NYU, he's a theatre director off Broadway, and they've given him an opportunity to come here, which in Singapore is so rare because growing up in the UK, the thing that I love about the UK, any night of the week you can go and watch a great fringe theatre show, whatever you want, and there's just that huge cultural element. And here it's been a little bit more limited. And I think gradually it's changing. But for me, I remember I used to go and watch plays at the National Theatre once or twice a week. I got a student discount. And I was blown away. Because if you look at some of the very best actors, Like Denzel Washington's one of my favorite actors. He's a stage actor first and foremost. You know what I mean? So I love that. Talk to me a little bit about your professional philosophy about leadership. What's your approach?
I always like to remember that leadership is a behavior, not a job title.
It's powerful.
It's about how you turn up for work. It's about what you do for your people. You see leaders and maybe more managers that someone gives them that title and they think they should change. Whereas I much prefer to think of, leadership it's a behavior. It's doing the right thing for people. At the same time, I think there are people who, I guess there's different degrees of how people like being led. And it's also remembering that your team that you're leading aren't a team. They're a bunch of individuals and they have individual needs. And on a day-to-day basis, those needs change. And what they need from you on a day-to-day basis will change. So I think that the more that you can remember that you are leading a team, but it's a team of individuals with different needs on different days, with different circumstances and I guess different problems they have. And if you can adapt quickly, and your point about doing different things, maybe I have a very low attention span, or maybe I enjoy.
No, but you ask
around,
ask questions. I think one of the things I've noticed is very, very senior leaders, maybe because they manage so many people, they stop seeing the individuals working for them as people, right? It's like there's a piece of machine equipment to get the job done, and we're all under pressure as managers. But, one of the things about you, why I love our friendship is because you'll ask, how you doing? What's going on? You know what I mean? And being there for one another. I think as a manager, as a leader, that's got to be at the heart of who you are, because we all come to work to provide for our families. When you're managing people to go through ups and downs. I was doing some coaching with this guy the other day, and he told me he doesn't care. I said, what do you mean? He said, I don't care if someone's wife's got cancer. I don't care for this or that. I said, really? How can you call yourself a leader? And he said, yeah, but I just don't have time. And I said, look, I completely disagree with what you're saying. I don't know if I can actually coach you. If I can't get you to change this fundamental thought process, no one's going to go to war for you. No one's going to really stand by you when you're going deep into the trenches. And he looked at me like I was an idiot.
And surely it's as simple as, and again, this is my point about, I actually think this is very simple. You look after your people, they look after the process.
Yeah, simple. Yeah, goes a long way. Talk about some of the leaders that you look up to. And I mean, I was thinking, because one guy who I respect so much, who is a little bit on the edge of both ways, is Alex Ferguson. When you look at Alex Ferguson, who's a quintessentially hard, tough-nosed Scottishman, but the one thing is, even look at David Beckham. Even David Beckham got kicked out of Man U, but David Beckham still loves and adores him, right? And I don't think Alex Ferguson can exist in today's world. But, I really admire guys like that. I like the old school. But who are some of the leaders that you look up to and you think, look, they did it really well?
So one of my leaders in my first firm, she could be very hard and harsh, which I think is fine. Yeah. And I think, without going textbook, situational leadership. She was great at situational leadership when stuff needed to be done.
Yeah.
This is the fire drill. When there's a fire drill, you don't get the flip chart out and start discussing which exit to take. That situational leadership is everyone needs to get up and get out.
Yeah.
And that's appropriate at that time. Whereas back to my facilitation of process improvement, that is in a meeting room with a whiteboard or whatever, your method. And that is about discussion, connecting with people. But one thing that she said to me very early in my career was, make the main thing the main thing.
You told me that. You said that when we had dinner with Neil.
Yeah.
And it had a massive impact on him.
That's right. I've forgotten about that. And for me, that's about if the team know what the main thing is,
yeah,
and you can make that clear and you can articulate that, and then you've got one vision of what you're actually setting out to achieve. So if that's a call center taking calls, or if it's a account opening team opening accounts, or whatever that is, make the main thing the main thing.
Yeah.
And don't get distracted with, well, we could do this and we could do that, or we could do it a different way, or and that's about sense of purpose and clarity. then within that, how are the individuals contributing to that?
Yeah.
And what's their particular skill set, and what's their, how can they contribute? But I think too many teams get distracted with a million and one different things that. So yeah, Eileen's words to me.
Very powerful.
Many, many years ago.
How did your move to Asia come about? I'm always curious when people make that move, because it's for a lot of us, like, and I know, a lot of our friends never left, and maybe have never even come out to Asia on a holiday. But I always find that nomads like you and I, there's a sense of adventure.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely it. I got a phone call from my boss when I was back in Scotland saying, "Can you come down to my office? I want to talk about an international opportunity." And in the one floor down to his room, I was thinking, New York, New York, New York, New York. And then I walked into the room and he said, "How do you fancy going to Singapore?" And I was disappointed probably for about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And then I thought, why not?
And you'd never been at that point, right?
I had been on one business trip.
Okay.
Okay. So I'd actually been in Singapore 2-3 weeks before this.
Oh, really?
This conversation. But I remember going from disappointment that it wasn't New York to all of a sudden, why not? Carpe diem, seize the day.
Yeah.
Just give it a go. On reflection, best thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
Because moving from, at the time, Edinburgh, London to New York would have been a different culture.
Yeah.
But let's face it, it's one Western culture to another Western culture.
Yes.
Moving here has taught me so much about different styles of leadership, different types of people. I mean, Asia for me is now home.
Yeah.
14 years, and I have no intention of leaving anytime soon.
Yeah.
But just the breadth, and of course the different cultures in Asia. You're not managing cross-culturally. You're managing multiple cross-cultures.
Especially in Singapore. That's the one thing I love about Singapore. It's Rojak, right? There are so many different. And what I love is when you go to a hawker stand, you'll see the Indians eating Chinese food, the Chinese eating the Indian food. There's a real mix. That's my family's Rojak. When you look at, I'm half Chinese, half Irish. My wife's 3/4 Indian, 1/4 European. It's just, I love it. And then when you arrived here, did you work out very quickly, I think I'm going to stay. I'm not going home anytime soon.
Yeah, the minute that you realize that your 2-year assignment is starting to run out, you think, I don't want it to run out.
Yeah. So what did you do? How did you stay on?
I extended.
That was it.
It was as simple as that. Boss said, "You want to extend for another 2 years?" And I said yes. And then the next job comes, and then the next job comes, and before you know it, you blink and you've been here 14 years. But I love the environment.
What I learned in Singapore, I always say this, but I always mention it because you'll get it. It took me, and I moved in 2001. It took me 7 years in Singapore to learn yes, yes, yes was actually no, right? And then after that, you quickly learn, okay, Thailand, Indonesia, Hong Kong, there are different nuances, and how you handle yourself you have to adapt a little bit in each. Talk to me about what's the toughest lesson that you've learned from leading large-scale operations and teams across borders on that point? Because it is different.
It is different, and I think the lesson is you never stop being a translator.
I like that.
So it's not about learning the language. Sure, we've all learned a few words in a few cultures. It's always nice to say please and thank you. But I think realizing, and this is, if I can talk about my Western counterparts.
Yeah.
I had one person once saying, "How's the weather in Asia this morning?" And I was like,
yeah,
they just don't get it.
Yeah.
And you're a translator east to west, but you're a translator between India and Singapore, and Singapore and Malaysia and Hong Kong, because all those cultures are subtly different.
Yes.
Or massively different in many ways. And remembering that, our Western counterparts, and be that London or New York or Toronto or wherever they are sitting, if they haven't lived and worked out here, to use your phrase, Rojak, they don't know the variety.
Yeah.
And they don't. So you're constantly making sure that you're representing your team well. Yeah. But importantly, if your team represent themselves and the Western person doesn't understand, it's about contextualizing that, and
100%.
the same in reverse.
Yeah.
So that you're melding those two communities together. When I first came here, I was in a conversation with a local Singaporean and one of my ex-colleagues in Glasgow. And I could tell that they couldn't understand each other's accent.
Yeah.
So I ended up translating English to English. From a strong Glaswegian accent to a strong Singaporean accent. But actually then you see your value in actually bringing cultures together, because it's more than just accent.
Yeah.
It's outlook, and it's, to your point about yes. But I find that utterly fascinating, being able to see things from multiple different point of views.
I think if you look at us, right, I think, because I was born and raised in London, but at the core of my DNA, it's really very Irish, right? I've got, and I think the Celts, there's something very special. You between the Scottish, the Welsh, and the Irish, they've got one thing in common. Historically, they hate the English. But I've always found the warmth. Like I told you, the first time I went to Scotland, I went to a bar in Stirling. I was at university, and no one let me buy a drink all night. I couldn't. They didn't know me. It's just Scotland's different. And I've been to Scotland a few times, and each time I've done a solo trip. Because not everyone has an appreciation for it. You just drive up through Glencoe. You're in the mountains. You're in the middle of nowhere, and you just take it in, right? You go back on a pilgrimage. We got to do a whiskey tour there, but So when you go back, do you go to different places, or you have to go home?
No, I go home to see friends and family.
Yeah.
But I love Scotland, and actually this year we're probably going to do a slightly bigger tour. We're going to do a bit of a tour around, and when the weather's good in Scotland, it's the best country in the world. Yeah. Summer's fantastic. I think last year it was a Wednesday.
Yeah.
But that's
Wednesday afternoon. What are you talking about?
No, but it is a stunning country. And whilst Asia's now home, and at the moment I have no intention to go back to Scotland. Yeah. Probably more of intention to go to my wife's home of Malaysia. Eventually. But Scotland will always be home. And I think we do pride ourselves on our, despite being branded as tight-fisted, I think we are very generous when it comes to hospitality, particularly.
I don't feel that way at all. Really don't. And some of my best friends are from Scotland, and they've got great stories. Talk to me a little bit about the parallels that you draw between theatre, leadership, and the finance world, because the two are very different. But you found a way to bring your skill set across both. Yeah,
and so, full disclosure, when I started on the board of Pangdemonium, and particularly taking over as chair, I've still got imposter syndrome. What would I know about theatre? But then actually realising that you don't need to know about theatre. What the board brings, because it's an IPC, it's a registered charity, is governance.
Yes.
And actually the governance, or I'd call it all the boring stuff, because rightly so, an Institute of Public Character, when they're taking donations from donors and taxpayers' money from government, there should be accountability about how that's spent.
Yeah.
So actually the governance that you're used to within the corporate world, conflicts of interest policy and reserves policy and all these kind of things, are actually skill sets that you can bring to the theatre world and complement the creative skill sets and the artistic and the direction and the production skill sets. So rather than overlap, I think there's actually some really good synergy that you can bring.
You know what I love? Because in the world that you and I live in, we're dealing with kind of invisible numbers that you never really see. Sometimes you'll see what the product ends up being. But what I love about theatre, you go there and you watch it, you experience it. And for great productions, you go away and you'll remember it for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? It's so, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's visceral.
Talk to me about one of the things you said to me before we did this, that you don't think is a big thing, but even in the time that I've known you, your fitness journey has been an interesting one, because we've all been there, but you and I send each other videos of us lifting weights and stuff. It's like, how did that journey begin for you?
A good friend said to me, and he was very insightful. We were talking about, so my fitness used to be a lot of cycling.
Okay.
Probably more walking, but I always used to like outside.
How tall are you? Let everyone know how tall you are.
186.
Yeah, you're a big unit.
So 6'1" and a bit.
Yeah, you're a little bit taller than me.
6'2" when I used to have hair. 6'1" and a bit now. But he said, you know, how much do you spend on your health? We're talking about what you spend your money on.
That's a good question.
How much you spend on your health, and it was quite good. So he said he's an ex Tim, great guy. He's an ex ice hockey player.
Oh, really?
So he's broken every bone in his body 10 times.
Tough guy.
And he's a strong guy. So he used to go to the gym. He said, "Well, come to the gym and I'll introduce you to my personal trainer." So I went once, and I would say I was hooked. I absolutely wasn't. It killed me.
At least you're honest.
But at that point, I thought I'm going to have to sign up for a package of 10 personal training sessions.
Was this in Singapore?
In Singapore, yeah. Only 4 or 5 years ago now. I said, if I don't, I'm not going to be committed.
Yeah.
So I did the 10 sessions, and then I signed up for more, etc. But you know, one, having a good connection with your personal trainer, I think is really important. But two, I just started to enjoy it, and I wasn't a gym rat. I didn't enjoy going to gyms. My idea of exercise, walking, cycling, is outside.
Yeah.
But then that, you know, particularly that the only person you need to be better than is the person that you were yesterday.
100%.
And the whole philosophy of personal best. And now my wife and I have this joke about, you know, how many PBs today, how many personal bests.
I love it.
And it's that constant, you know, you can just increase one plate at a time.
Yeah.
And then you can increase one rep at a time.
Yeah.
And it literally is, you know, I did one yesterday. So hammer curls yesterday.
Yeah. What were you curling?
So I did 24 times 7 yesterday, and last week was 24 times 6.
Good man.
One more rep, and my last rep was a disaster.
Doesn't matter.
I was waving about all over the place.
Doesn't matter.
But
and you
it's
feel
just that one. But the psychology of that.
You feel so good about yourself, and one of the things, it's interesting. I've been asked by people in the past, like, why should we work with you? How do you differentiate? And I always say, we deliver. Well, how do we know that? And I, you know, like for me, who I am as a sportsman, as a fighter, it tells you everything you need to know about me, because there's no end in sight. Do you know what I mean? I'm there. I'll do it. I'm working out, and I'll wind some people up. Like I'll send them a message at 5:30, and I say, "Where are you, mate? Get in the gym."
But it's you know, you could hear people saying, "Oh, it's about the discipline." For me, it's actually just about the challenge and the fun.
Yeah.
You know, there's days that your body says, "No, I cannot be bothered to go to the gym."
Yeah.
You know, so most days.
Most days.
But once you're there, so yesterday was a good case in point. I really wasn't up for it, but then something grabs you when you're there, and you know, I joked with my trainer about, you know, get the phone out and film me, because that's a good motivation. I'm not going to fail on camera.
That
and
works.
You literally and it's just that, knowing that last week you did 6 reps.
Yeah.
This week, just try 7, and then suddenly you'll surprise yourself with 8. Just beating yourself is
it's
really,
huge.
Yeah.
You know, you see, the thing is, like my wife hates me posting me exercising. I said, why? She goes, well, you know, are you showing off? What are you doing? And I said, well, look, if you are an artist and you've painted a picture, are you going to talk about it? Are you going to, you know, you're trying to sell it. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm sharing my journey. And if I can motivate, inspire one person, and there's been a lot of people that I've inspired and helped, and it's also who I am. It's no different. If you go scuba diving and you post a picture with your mates and you're out, you know, or you're underneath and you've seen a manta ray, you're going to post pictures. But the other thing that I think a lot of people don't understand.
So to interrupt you, I'm not there yet. This body is not it's not an artistic creation.
But
it's getting better. But.
No, but listen, I've seen pictures before and after, and you've lost weight in your face, your shoulders have got a lot bigger, and we've all got. I always think, children, you're a dad, you know, all children have, at whatever level, a musician, an artist, a sports person in all of us. But what happens as we get older, it goes, like, when was the last time you drew? But when you're a kid, you drew every day. Mm-hmm. You know, it disappears. And I also think, because I suffered from depression quite badly, and I realized there was a period of my life where I stopped working out for 10 years. And I was reading books on depression and happiness, and, you know, things weren't going well in my personal life. And I realized, mate, first and foremost, you're an idiot. You've stopped working out. And one of my friends, Andy, who's a Scottish guy, he was getting married, and I hadn't seen him for about 6 months. And he'd lost so much weight. And I said, wow, you look amazing. What's happened? Tell me everything. And he said, well, I've got a personal trainer, you know, before the wedding. And I said, okay, can I meet him? And his name is Mike. and I met and you said a lot of chemistry, we became really good friends. And the thing is, listen, I know how to exercise. This guy is a technician, but it's the commitment, you're spending money. You don't want to let him down. If you cancel last minute, you're going to lose the money, or you should lose the money. He never would let me, but I'd say, no. And it's just that accountability. Do you know what I mean?
Agree.
And then it back to yourself. And now, how I motivate myself, because I haven't had a trainer for a long time, is I imagine my mum and dad have passed on, that they're watching me, and I want my dad to say, that's my boy. He's doing it. I want the kids to know, and it works because my 2 older kids, they're specimens, and it's now an autopilot. You know, like when we were talking, I heard my daughter going out the door. She's off to basketball. My son's, he's in ridiculous shape. It's what a journey. Yeah. Tell me about your son now, because his journey is just so inspiring, and what he's doing now.
Yeah, so I've got 2 kids. My son, a son and a daughter, a pink and a blue. My son qualified last year with photography, first class honours. He worked hard for it. First class. He deserved that.
Amazing.
From Edinburgh. And he's now creating his own business, carving his own way. He's hustling, which I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
He photographed Piers Morgan recently. His CV is now, Nike, Birkenstock, some of these big brands.
And how old is he now?
He is, I should be able to tell you instantly, he was 2002, so he's 23.
Yeah. What an amazing start he's had.
Yeah, he deserves it because he's hustling, he's working hard.
Tell us what your definition of hustling is, because for me, it is it's the bedrock of anyone that's successful. But most people don't really identify with it.
Yeah, he's going out and getting his own connections and getting his own leads. So he's got an agent.
Yeah.
But, he'll follow people on Instagram. And he'll follow the right people on Instagram, and then he'll send them direct messages.
Love it.
And he'll just make sure that he's front and center. And when they've got a job, he'll ask for it. Again, it's back to that.
Can you send me his link later?
Absolutely.
On Instagram.
Yeah.
Tell him the second sexiest ball man in Singapore is going to be over there in Scotland next time I'm there. I want him to take some pictures of us.
And it's great seeing him develop like that.
Of course.
And just start his own business. And I'm hugely proud of both of them.
Yeah.
My son is carving his own world in a very entrepreneurial way.
Yeah.
My daughter's a nurse in pediatric A&E.
Wow.
And again, she's doing great.
It's a lot of hard work.
But if you look at how different they both are in career choice, nursing, it's a vocation rather than a career. You have to really want to do it. But the stories that she tells me, I mean, she's literally saving lives, and it's kids' lives. It's hard work.
Very,
when
very
you see
meaningful.
The 2 of them, and it's what's most motivating for me, is seeing how different they are in their career choice, how different they are in their approach.
Yeah.
But both equally successful in what they're doing.
Beautiful. It's hard being a parent, the ups and downs of it. This year has taught me a lot, and I realise, when kids are young, i.e. pre-teens, it's a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah.
Can you agree? 2 nights ago, my daughter had 50 kids in this house, and I think they were leaving at 3 a.m. There were dead bodies all over the place in the morning, but it was like good for her. She was 16. She had the confidence to pull everyone together. I love it.
Well, my house is 10,000 kilometres from where they live, so I don't have that problem.
Talk about your personal reflections. When you look back and what's taken you to where you are, your level of success, I would imagine a lot of it is consistently challenging yourself. Talk to me about how you're challenging yourself, because you strike me as someone who's never turned away from, an opportunity. You're always looking to step up.
Well, again, a cliche, every day is a school day.
Yeah.
So recently I've signed up, or will be signing up for International Coaching Federation to become a coach.
Fantastic. You'd make an amazing coach.
And I think I will, but that's why I want to do the learning, because to use that. So back in our day, the 3 R's of learning: reading, writing, arithmetic. My 3 R's are reminded, revealed, and reassured. So when you learn a new skill, it might be the fact that you're reminded about something that you used to do. It could be that you're reassured that what you're actually doing is right, or something could be revealed that it's brand new knowledge. And I think when you learn, it's actually good to keep that in mind, that we all have some background knowledge, but I've been coaching people at work, I think, quite well for years. I might be doing it all wrong. So I'm really looking forward to learning that skill.
Can you send me the link on that federation? Because there's so many. It's the international one, right?
Yeah, the ICF.
Yeah, ICF.
And then it's delivered by a number of different providers in Singapore and globally. But the bit I'm most curious about, I'm curious to learn. But I'm curious to see if I've been doing it right all these years or if I've been doing it wrong. Hopefully from the people that I've coached, they feel I've been doing it right.
Yeah.
But to me, that's always be humble enough and never be arrogant enough to think you know all the answers. 100%. So that when you go through the learning, and I do hope all 3 R's are there. I do hope that I am reassured that I haven't been butchering it for years. But at the same time, I hope to learn a new technique and make my coaching even better and hopefully bring more benefit to the people that I'm coaching.
You know, coaching is an interesting one because I think, you know, we can't be everything to everyone. Each like with your personal trainer, that has to be a special bond and a relationship. But I think people don't spend enough time and money and resource on personal development. I just think it's so overlooked. And there are some people that have said to me, look, can I do some coaching with you? And now the longer I do it, the more I realize I've got to be very careful with my time because I don't want to do that much one-on-one coaching because it actually it's time consuming beyond the hours that you're doing it, but also it's quite emotionally consuming. And what I realized going back to that guy earlier, I should never have worked with him. But I didn't know him. The company paid me, and it was a little bit difficult. And I said to him, "Do you read? Do you listen to podcasts?" He goes, "No." And I said, "Okay, why?" "I don't have time." "But you're up every morning at 4 o'clock because you're worried with work. Let's break that down. Let's analyze it." And then I said to him, "Do you go for walks?" He goes, "Yeah." "Why don't you listen to a podcast or listen to an Audible?" Yeah. And he kept making excuses. And I said, "At some point, you're going to run out of excuses, mate. You've got to shape up, bro. You know, I wouldn't want to work for you." It was a nightmare, but so interesting. If you could go back to your younger self with what you know today, or if you were to talk to your kids, what advice would you give them about A, life, and B, work?
If I could speak to my 16-year-old self.
Yeah.
So I want to be genuine here. I would actually say don't change a thing, because changing anything meant at this stage I would have some regrets. And I don't see the point in regrets. Every decision you make helps you make the next one. Yeah. And yeah, there's maybe things I would look back and think I could have done better, smarter, faster, whatever. But the more that you dwell on that. Yeah. So I would actually say just go and do exactly the same thing again. But knowing actually if you reran that book, it would go in a different direction.
Well, you can. It's easy to get lost, right? But I think hindsight's 20/20. But I do think now why I ask myself that question, why I ask you that question is, I want to help the kids make informed decisions. But what I realize is there's no point stressing about it because they don't bloody listen to me anyway. They've got to fall over and get up on themselves. You just got to be there to help them sometimes.
Yeah, and I think without appearing to be a transactional dad rather than a caring dad, I actually think coaching / mentoring your kids is much better than telling them. Yeah. Because they are their own individuals. Yeah. And actually if you adopt some of the, and it does sound very technical and transactional to, be a coach and a mentor for your own kids. But actually if you want them to develop best and get the most out, then you said earlier about asking lots of questions. I would much rather ask them lots of questions than give them advice. Yeah. Because they've got it in themselves. Everyone's got the answer within themselves.
100%.
And if you're able to tease that answer out of them, versus, well, I tell you what I would do. Well, I'm not you, so why? I've never been a nurse and I've never been a photographer. Yeah. So what do I know? Yeah. They have now between them that experience about what works and what doesn't work. So my role is to tease out of them where do they want to go next and how are they going to get there and what could they use and what goals are they going to set themselves and what resources have they got available, and that to me is more important.
Unpack the imposter syndrome that you mentioned earlier and how you have ensured that it doesn't restrict you or prevent you from trying things, because a lot of people have imposter syndrome.
Be comfortable with it and embrace it. So back to when I said about the 4 rotations on that management development. Rotation 1, I'm out of my depth. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm here. 3 months later, I kind of get it. I'm learning a bit and I'm doing okay. Rotation 2, I'm out of my depth. I don't know why I'm here and I don't know how to do about it. 3 months later, I'm kind of understanding and I'm learning. Rotation 3, day 1, I think I'm going to feel out my depth today. Guess what? I did. So recognizing that when you start something new, this is how it's meant to feel.
Yeah.
Feeling lost is okay. Feeling like you're the most useless person in the room is okay. Feeling like you have a huge amount to learn is okay. So it's almost learning to be uncomfortable is the lesson that I would learn, and then embracing it. So I'm going to try something new. So when I arrived in Singapore, and you go to a supermarket and don't recognize the foods or don't see your common brands, or you're in a hawker center, no idea what to choose, then thinking, this is okay. This is meant to feel like this. So the skill in learning isn't to learn the new skill. It's to learn the fact that you're going to be uncomfortable until you learn that new skill.
I love it.
And that uncomfortableness is actually fabulous. And then it becomes exciting.
Yeah.
And then you think, I'm going to push myself out my depth because I want to feel uncomfortable.
You know, it's funny. I always feel that embarrassment is one of the least explored emotions. And I've leaned into it. It's like very difficult to embarrass me. And I've got the opposite problem because
You can try.
You can try. I'm sure you might get there eventually. But what I've always found, I'm different. Because I'm delusional. I think I can do everything. I know what my weaknesses are. I know I can't be a brain surgeon or whatever. And I've tried to analyze why and where. And I think it's grown up with my dad being a builder. And, you know, he never really taught me properly. I mean, most of my observations were from my dad, how not to do certain things. But he would, I remember one day, he said to me, you need to cut a hole in the wall. There's the disc cutter. And just measure it up. And, you know, Mummy and I are going away for the weekend. They were going to go to buy some, you know, boating equipment. And I said, okay, cool. So, you know, I'm getting ready. I spray everything. I'm getting all ready, measure the door, and I start going to town. It's red brick. Red brick dust goes all over downstairs. I mean, this place is a mess. Now, Dad hasn't told me anything. And the truth is, he probably would have done the same thing. So I didn't put any plastic sheeting up, nothing. And the place is destroyed. I'm thinking, shit. And I'm like 15, 16 maybe. So I took my pocket money out. And the first thing I realized, I've got to repaint downstairs. So now, one of my principles is rational deductive logic. Always working backwards, what could go wrong? Mm-hmm. I had to buy some sheet and had to do everything. Did the whole flipping thing. And I realized I could do, and they came back and they didn't know the difference. And what annoyed me was Mum smelt the paint. And I said, I painted around the door. And then eventually I told them what happened because I thought I'd get into trouble. Mm-hmm. But they couldn't tell. And I thought I'd done such a pucker job. It looked better than it did before and they couldn't tell. But it is interesting. Let's do some rapid fire. So professionally, what is A, the best piece of advice that you've ever received professionally? And B, what's the best advice you've ever given someone?
I'm going to go back to what I said. Make the main thing the main thing.
Okay.
Realize what that is and focus on it.
Yeah.
The best bit of advice I've given, I once had someone say to me, you know what I love when you coach me? You don't realize you've been coached until half an hour after. And I think that's important. Leave people not thinking that you've just taught them something, but that you've just helped them.
You know where I went wrong early on in my career, before as a coach, but as an owner of a business like years ago, people recognized what I did, but 3 or 4 years later, and typically they might have already left the company. And I thought, yeah, mate, this doesn't work. This is 3 or 4 years too late. You know what I mean? But I think it's known where the person is in their journey and their life cycle. Have you read any books that have made a great impact on you? Is there anyone that you can think of? I'm curious.
So, newsflash, I don't read books.
Okay.
I read a lot, but I'm slightly dyslexic. And actually,
me too.
A book scares me.
Me too.
So I read tons of articles. I watch tons of podcasts. I listen to podcasts, like you say. But I was just thinking when you said there about the guy who doesn't read books.
Yeah.
I read one book in my life for my O grades back in school. It scared me so much I've never read a book since.
So interesting.
But I could read a magazine cover to cover.
Yeah.
I could read, and actually that's where the internet really helps because it's all bite-sized chunks.
But you see, the funny thing is, think about it, what's the difference? I always say, I read 3 books typically at the same time. When I say at the same time, not literally, but like over the course of, say I'm going away for a week, I'll read a couple of chapters in one book, another book, and another book. And I'm very dyslexic. and I don't know exactly, but I think my wife can read probably 5 times faster than me and have a better understanding of the text that she's reading. And I used to hate reading because it scared me. But what I found, because we all like, are you auditory, are you visual, or how is it? But the thing I love about reading now is I can go back and underline things, revisit it. So it means I take a long time to read. Okay, so but what apart from the Quinntessential Questions podcast, what podcast do you listen to a lot that you enjoy?
I'm a bit of a geek, so I like technical stuff. So I like Beyond the Grid,
Okay,
the
that's-
F1
yep.
podcast, because it gets into the nitty gritty of
Yeah.
aerodynamics and all that kind of stuff.
I
I
love it.
actually prefer the podcasts of the engineers in Beyond the Grid rather than the drivers.
Yeah.
There's one called the B1M,
Okay.
which is all about engineering projects and building bridges and
Wow.
all that kind of stuff. So I enjoy that. And then I'm a bit of a car nut, so I love podcasts on testing cars and all that kind of stuff.
I love it.
So quite technical, probably very different from the day job.
Well, talking about technical, so I was listening to the High Performance podcast with, I think that's what it was called, with Boris Becker.
Yeah.
And he was, he coached Novak Djokovic, and they were saying like, who would win in their prime, Djokovic or Boris Becker? He said no, Novak would win. And when he became his coach, he had lost his number 1 spot to Nadal. What I found really interesting was he was still winning a lot, but they analysed how he was winning. He said you're taking too long in the matches. So by the time you get to the final, you're actually already very tired. So you're winning behind the baseline. So you need to get to the baseline and make your matches more efficient so you're less tired going into the final. It sounds very simple, but it was clear. And the other thing he said was you need to perfect your serve, because your serve is your only shot in tennis where you're not reacting to your opponent, right? So you need to spend some more time. And you listen to things like that, and it's very simple. And then you can apply it to any part of your life. And what I find is a lot of people are not curious. And I think when you're curious, you just learn, you pick up things through osmosis, right?
Agree.
What is a quality that you think every business leader really should have?
Can I give you 2? Integrity
Please.
and timekeeping.
Timekeeping. Love it. Yeah. Most people really pisses me off. They message me. We're meeting at 1:30. They'll message me at 1:30. Hey, Paul, I'm running 20 minutes late. What the hell?
What time did you ask for me to be here today, and what time did I turn up?
On the dot, 12.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm a big one, and I tend to turn up early. And I think we've even talked about this once. If I've got a big meeting, say in Hong Kong, in the morning, I will arrive certainly the day before. If I'm going to a place, I will go and check out where I'm going. Because, Murphy's Law, something will go wrong on the day. If you've never been somewhere, go and bloody check out the place.
It's just courteous and respectful.
Exactly.
You're respecting the individual by turning up on time.
Yeah.
Might sound very old school.
No,
but
man.
It's about respect.
I'm with you 100%. I love that. What's the first thing you look for in someone when you hire or you promote them?
That they don't look, sound, or behave like me.
I love that.
Don't employ people that look like you. Don't employ people that, employ difference.
What a great answer. So you're saying I could or couldn't work for you? Because we're bald.
No, but it's
No,
a team
I know
is
what you
made
mean.
up of diversity.
100%.
And it's what I love about the region here, that in my team, you've got all sex, colour, creed, religion, you name it, it's difference.
Yeah.
So employ difference
Yeah.
and employ talent. I try and employ people who look, sound and behave nothing like me and are smarter than me. It's quite easy to find people that are smarter than me. But if you surround yourself with talent,
Yeah. It goes a long way.
Yeah.
Nigel, who you met earlier, when I interviewed her, she was only 21. Part of her job was to get involved a little bit with the podcast. And, I said, look, the studio's in my home. It's I need you to come to my home and stuff. And I know she's 21. And she comes from a very traditional Indian family. So she moved here when she was 16. So I said, I would like to meet your mum and dad. I want to invite them to the house so they can see the setup. They can even come and watch the first couple of podcasts so they're there. And which I think really was very impactful for her. And I always say that the universe reveals itself in different ways. So literally the very next day, I bump into her mum, her dad, and her sister, and I'm with my youngest daughter, Ivana, in Holland Village. I've not been back there for about 5 years. They've never been there before. And then, you know, and I said that I don't ask to meet with you. And you know, she'd obviously told them. So I said, feel free to come around the house and stuff. And that just gave the mum and dad so much peace of mind. Because I've got kids. And look, the reality, she's an adult, but she's only 21. She's a wee lass. She's never worked properly before.
Yep.
And I love that about you as well. What's your productivity hack? And I know you've probably got a dozen, so give me a few. Because you're very efficient.
Leave Friday afternoons free to clear your inbox. So I don't have meetings on Friday afternoons.
I love that.
One, because people don't like meetings on Friday afternoons.
Yeah.
And two, you go into the weekend with a clear inbox, regardless how busy the week's been. So going home on a Friday with an empty inbox, one, allows you to have your weekend.
Beautiful.
And not think about it. And two, you come in on Monday, particularly in Asia, you come in on Monday to clear inbox.
Yeah.
Because on a Tuesday, you've got all the overnight emails from London and New York. And
it's piling on.
Yeah.
That's a great one. Well, the other thing about you is you're very savvy about things. Well, we went out for dinner, and you said you get this many points on this card and this, that. And I'm useless to that stuff.
I love my air miles hacks.
But is that because you sit down and you do the research? You have to, right?
Well, when I said about geeking out podcasts, so the points guy, or 1 mile at a time, all these hacks for air miles, I go back to UK once, twice a year.
Yeah.
Why would you pay for a flight?
Flipping hell, mate. I'm just useless. I'm useless at this stuff. If you weren't in banking and you think you were to pursue an alternative career, what would it have been?
I'd be a roadie.
Really?
Yeah.
100%?
100%. So when I was at school, I used to run school discos.
Really?
Yeah. So lighting, sound, all that kind of stuff. I used to set up. And
what were your top 3 go-to songs back in the day? We're going to give your age away now.
Definitely going to give my age away. Has to be Night Boat to Cairo by Madness.
Okay.
That was definitely one of the day. More recent, You Can Never Get Away from Insomnia by Faithless.
Oh, nice.
I'll just do that as the top 2. No, but I would, anytime I see a big stage sound setup, I get excited. So I would have been a roadie working for whoever setting up these big concert arenas.
Well, it's nice. Well, and you live opposite the stadium, so you can listen in, and when whoever's playing, you're there.
But if I go to a big concert, I'm always looking up at speakers, lights.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's.
I love that.
Very different from banking.
Well, it is. What's a risk that you felt that you took in your career that you felt uncomfortable with at the time, but it paid off?
Coming to Singapore.
Okay. See, I don't even see that as a risk, though, but you did at the time.
It's not knowing how good you're going to be in an environment that's completely different.
So interesting.
But it is. I mean, it is an opportunity.
Yeah.
I guess the risk is no risk because it's a 2-year assignment.
Yeah.
Worst possible thing that can happen is you end up back where you were.
Yeah.
And what's wrong with that?
Well, you know, when I speak to younger people, I always say to them, if you get the opportunity to travel abroad for work and go and live abroad, take it, because what will happen otherwise, there's nothing wrong with it if you stay where you are, but you and I could both go back to a bar where we grew up, and we might see someone at the end of a stool, at the end of the bar, sat there and say, John, I haven't seen you for a bit. Yeah, mate, I've been gone for 15 years. Do you know what I mean? I always just think trying new things. And travel just gives you so much, right? You learn so much about yourself and the world. It never looks the same again.
And acknowledging that to do that much travel and to work overseas is a privilege.
Yeah, it is.
Never forget.
It truly is. What's the favourite play, the best play that you've watched yet thus far?
Rent.
Okay. Loved it.
Yeah, just it was probably one of my first with Pangdemonium, and it just made a big impact. I loved everything about it.
Do you know you're talking to the best, most undiscovered actor in Singapore? That's me. And I'm putting it out there, Adrian. I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to rock and roll. So remember that.
As we say in Singapore, noted with thanks.
Don't put it in the box and not forget. That was my little pitch. If you could have dinner with 3 people, famous people, dead or alive, who would they be? Let's imagine actor, artist, sports person, whatever. Who are you going to go with?
Okay. Number one, number one, I'm going to invite my wife.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll give her that.
No, and
you've got to go with someone
serious here
famous.
because I love dinner parties, and I love being the cook, the chef.
Yeah.
And I love.
But she's front of house.
She's front of house, and actually, I wouldn't want a dinner without her there because I think she completes us. So I'll be in the kitchen, and she'll be the host.
By the way, I'm waiting for one of your steaks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Noted. Yeah. Okay.
So I really enjoy what we have together in terms of hosting.
Beautiful.
So that's 2 out of the 4 of us.
Okay.
The other 2, who would I like? You know, we talked about Pangdemonium.
Yeah.
Famous actor and a well-respected director in Singapore. We actually have a lot of fun with Adrian Tracy for a dinner party.
Oh, I love it.
Because they are really good fun. They're if you look for global superstars, names that everyone recognises, but actually, and then not talking to them about theatre, but talking to them about something else. I enjoy that.
I don't know Adrian, but I've seen him multiple times getting on the same flight. I don't know if we're going to Hong Kong or whatever, but there's a charisma about him, you know, and he's a stylish guy, but there's a charisma about him. I have to say, I'm looking forward to talking to him one day. How do you recharge? What do you do to reset? Because
TikTok.
Is that what floats your boat?
No, so actually, my wife, son, and I, when we do go to bed at night, because she's been translating all day, she's Malaysian Chinese. Yeah. She likes to watch Chinese drama, so she doesn't have to translate. So she'll be on her side of the bed watching Chinese drama. I'll be on my side of the bed watching some geeky YouTube channel on some technical engineering, and that helps us recharge. And actually, being comfortable enough to spend lots of time with them, but not having to interact, I think is a great way to have a relationship. So
100%.
The 2 of us, she has a phrase: "Go and do your own thing."
Yeah.
But we literally do our own thing, but we're together, but
yes.
we're doing our own thing. And that, I think, helps recharge, respecting her space of, she's done talking English for the day and needs to listen to some Mandarin or Cantonese.
Yeah.
I'm done talking banking for the day, and I need to look at an engineering project of a tunnel. So that's how we recharge.
You know, it's funny because the last time we went out, we went for a cigar and a whiskey, right? Mm. And there's something about that where you can just be quiet. We were relaxed. We were just chatting crap. We were just enjoying that time together. And I think that a lot of couples, because people always say, because I don't know about you and son, but my wife and I are so different. But we want to be together. That's the key. So we can be, as you said, doing different things, reading different things, and I absolutely love that. Talk to me about...
When you said just at that point on a cigar, one phrase, and I said this last time we met, that I love about a nice cigar is it's a commitment to time. Because they take an hour to smoke. Yeah. And I don't have, I maybe have one cigar every month, 2 months. But when you sit down with someone and you put your phone down and you've got a glass of wine and a cigar, it's very much like this is, Paul. It's a commitment to say, I'm going to spend the next hour talking to you. And these days in our fast-paced life with social media, it's just a commitment to time, and I like that.
Well, the one thing that I enjoy about our time together is, who doesn't enjoy a nice steak with a bottle of wine, or maybe 2, and then to finish off the evening like that. So, John, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. Thanks for being part of our COO series. It's a treat for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks,
good man.
And thanks for hosting.
Pleasure. Cheers.